Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Matt. That was wonderful. So I'm actually going to start off with a homework assignment. Just jump into that. It's April, and April is National Poetry Month. And the homework assignment that I'm offering is for you to find a poem that you like. Read it over the week, and next week, or the next time we see each other, let's talk about it with each other. So that is the homework assignment. Now, you can't just give out homework for any reason. You have to give out homework because it has a purpose. So I'll just throw in there that if a dog whisperer is to calm and soothe and comfort a dog who may be at discomfort or distress, then I believe that a poet is a human whisperer and has words that connects us and holds us together, especially in times where there may be discomfort or fret. And we want to welcome, again, anytime we get to collectively say happy to anything. So it's Happy National Poetry Month. We're going to celebrate it and milk it out. So with that, that's the homework. If you need an explanation, anything else, you can see me after service. And so with that, I would like to officially now say welcome. Good morning. My name is Delores Connors, and I proudly serve as the president of the Board of Trustees. I am a worship associate, and I am a very, very happy, proud member of this congregation. I've been attending this church for about 19 years. My son has gone through the RE program, which is wonderful, and we're just very happy to call this our spiritual church home. If you don't know, I'd like to remind you that CUC is an inclusive community of all ages that embraces diversity in identity, expression, and spiritual belief. We gather together each Sunday in worship to find inspiration, hope, and renewal among this community of like-hearted individuals. This morning, our sabbatical minister, Reverend Mark Cutolo, will preach a sermon titled, Keep It Simple. People complain about the hectic pace of life and the way technology disrupts our lives and our peace of mind. The sermon will explore some examples of people pushing back against those demands in favor of a simpler, more deliberate way of life. If you're visiting with us in person, please be sure to say hello to our two welcome hosts, Joan and Audrey. If you can just wave, thank you. If you're visiting with us online, please be sure to click the link and provide in the chat and sign in our guest book by providing your name and your contact information. We invite you to stay after service for coffee, conversation, and connection in this same space. As we prepare to begin our service this morning, we ask those in person to please silence your electronic devices. And with that, I do have a few announcements. So, Passover Seder is coming up. It's December 19th. You can sign up. I'm sorry, did I say April 19th? April Fool's, a little late. But it is April the 19th, so please see Pam or Jeff. And we also have a notice in our newsletter. CUC Spring Fling is coming up in a few weeks. You can chat with any of the Spring Fling committee people if you can raise your hand so we know who you are. All right, and it's also in our newsletter if you'd like to see that in more detail. The Pastoral Care has set up a meal train to support Denise Adams during recovery. You can see on the back of our flyer, our newsletter has some information, and I'm sure there's a few people here that can help you if you have any questions after service. Please consider volunteering for coffee hour. We have a few spots that are available in the next few weeks. And speaking of coffee hour, I would just like to casually say that the board will be hosting a conversation of coffee with the board soon. We'll give you more details about that, but we will be around after coffee hour if you have any questions. So, and now, let us now more formally begin our gathering. So please turn and speak to someone next to you, near you, and offer them a warm welcome.
Good morning. Today's opening words are by the 19th century Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky. Love all creation, the whole of it and every grain of sand. Love every leaf, every ray of God's light. Love the animals, love the plants, love everything. You will perceive the divine mystery in things, and once you have perceived it, you will begin to comprehend it ceaselessly, more and more every day. And you will at last come to love the whole world with an abiding, universal love. And now I invite those who are gathered here in person to rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 204, Come, O Sabbath Day. Please note that if you're following along in the hymnal, that the third verse has an option to say rising sun or setting sun. Since it's 10:30 in the morning, we're going to say rising sun.
Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words, which are based on our CUC's vision statement. We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to work towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and our gifts of the present, to create a community where each of us may find healing, transformation, and hope. We are not alone. Our lives are built on shared commitments, giving and receiving together. Our congregation serves as a place where we intentionally practice this shared living, interdependence in a culture that is oversensitized in independence. One of the ways we practice our interdependence is through our congregation's finances, which depend on our generous contributions of members and friends. We pause each week to recognize this particular form of sharing, each of us giving what we can to support the mission of the vision of Central Unitarian Church. Your financial contributions helps each one of us grow, to serve, and more importantly, to live lives centered on love. Our offering will now gratefully be received. please join me in saying our dedication words based off of CUC's service. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community.
We now pause to take a moment to share our joys and sorrows. We do this each week as a way of caring for one another. We invite you to share the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. If you are online, you may do so by entering that information in the chat box. Those of you here in person may have already lit a candle and submitted a joy or sorrow, which I will read. We will also offer a moment for those here to share out loud the names of those you are holding in your heart today. So let us quiet ourselves in order to enter that holy space of listening and of breathing in a breath of life and breathing out a breath of peace. And now I invite you to share out loud the names of anyone else that you're holding in your heart today. We hold these cares, joys, and concerns in our hearts, as well as the ones that remain unspoken. And now, would you please join me in a moment of meditation? While sitting down where you are, be aware of your feet grounded on the floor. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, scanning your entire body up and down, from your toes to the top of your head, then back down again while breathing out. As you inhale and exhale, breathe deep into your chest so your belly fills with the air. When exhaling, control the air as it leaves your lungs. At this time, make breathing in and out your only responsibility. Listen to your breath as it goes in and out of your nose. Feel it as it fills your lungs. Control it as your lungs empty. Continue to do this for 1 minute. At the end of that portion of the meditation, I will continue with the text of today's spoken meditation, after which we will continue with another moment of silent meditation. Our true home is in the present moment. To live in the present moment is a miracle. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. Peace is all around us, in the world and in nature, and within us, in our bodies and spirits. Once we learn to touch this peace, we will be healed and transformed. It is not a matter of faith, it is a matter of practice. And that concludes this moment of meditation. I now invite those who are gathered here in person to rise in body or spirit for our second hymn.
That's a lot of fun. Okay. Our reading is from the Rule of Saint Benedict, composed by the 6th century Italian monk Benedict of Nursia, who is considered by many to be the founder of the Western monotheism. This passage is from the chapter 4 titled, What are the Instruments of Good Works? In the first place, to love the Lord with the whole heart, the whole soul, and the whole strength. Then one's neighbor as oneself. Then not to kill, not to commit adultery, not to steal, not to covet, not to utter false witness, to honor all men, to do as one would be done, to love fasting, to relieve the poor, to clothe the naked, to visit the sick, to bury the dead, to help in tribulation, to console the sorrowing, to become a stranger of worldly deeds, to prefer nothing to the love of Christ, not to carry anger into effect, not to prolong the duration of one's wrath, not to utter one truth from heart and mouth, not to return evil for evil, not to do injury, but to suffer patiently, to love enemies, not to curse and return those who curse one, but rather to bless them, to bear persecution for righteousness, not to be proud, not to be given too much wine, not to be gluttonous, not given too much sleep, not to be sluggish, not to be given to grumbling, not to be a detractor, to have the expectation of death daily before one's eyes, hour by hour, to keep guard over one's every act, to keep one's mouth from evil, to prepare speech, not to love to speak much, not to speak unless or mirth-provoking words, not to love much or excessive laughter, to listen with goodwill to holy healing, to be frequently occupied in prayer, not to hate anyone, not to harbor jealousy, not to love contention, to avoid elation, to reverence seniors. To love juniors, in the love of Christ to pay for one's enemies, in case of discord with anyone to make peace before the setting of the sun, and never to despair of the mercy of God. Here ends the reading. Thank you.
If you pay attention to current events, then you know that colleges and universities are making a lot of headlines these days. It would be nice if those headlines were about groundbreaking scientific research, or about well-researched books that faculty have written, or about award-winning art, poetry, and music that students are composing, or about the ways that institutions of higher education are helping more people to rise into the middle class and improving the neighborhoods, towns, and cities that those institutions are located in. Those things are not what are making headlines these days. Nevertheless, we know that at the 4,000 colleges and universities around our country, that students, professors, and staff are showing up every day to make sure that students engage in critical thinking and research, that they prepare for professional careers and lifelong learning, and that our society is enriched through the creation and dissemination of knowledge. Of course, as we know, higher education isn't just about textbooks and lectures. It's also about exploring innovation and new ways of thinking and living. A perfect example is the so-called monk class at the University of Pennsylvania, a course that takes a truly unique approach to learning. Monk class is the nickname given to a course whose official title is Living Deliberately. The course is taught by Dr. Justin McDaniel, who is a professor in the Department of Religious Studies. Dr. McDaniel earned his doctorate from Harvard University's Department of Sanskrit and Indian Studies in 2003, and his research interests include ancient Sanskrit literature, Southeast Asian history, Buddhism, and the study of ritual. He's won many research grants and fellowships, and he's written several books, including ones titled Wisdom as a Way of Life, and another titled Practicing Buddhism in Modern Thailand. In addition, he himself has deep roots in various monastic traditions. Growing up in Philadelphia, he was educated by Roman Catholic monks from Hungary. After college, he volunteered in Laos and then Thailand, where he lived as a Buddhist monk for some time. The reason that Dr. McDaniel's Living Deliberately class has attracted so much attention both within and outside of the university is because part of the class's requirements are that students commit to living a kind of monastic lifestyle for 1 month during the semester. What does that look like? On the first day of the class, the syllabus is reviewed and the students learn the ground rules. Each week, they study a different monastic tradition and incorporate some of its practices into their daily lives. As the semester progresses, they undertake a month-long vow of silence, agreeing to only speaking during class discussions. During that month, the students also disconnect from technology by surrendering their cell phones. To ease into this great sacrifice, the students initially limit their speech to 100 words per day. Additional guidelines include no jewelry or makeup is worn in class. Seating in class is divided by sex, with men and women wearing distinct attire, white shirts for men, black for women, and anyone who considers themselves gender variant is welcome to choose which makes sense for them. In addition, the students receive a new name that they use in the class, which is based on the Thai astrological chart, and students are encouraged to follow a strict schedule. They are supposed to rise every day at 5 o'clock in the morning and to practice writing in their journal every 30 minutes. Students are instructed to be in bed by 10 o'clock at night and to practice fasting between sunset and sunrise. The students should avoid any technology that is more complicated than a light switch, to avoid spicy foods, to refrain from dancing, to practice meditation for 25 minutes every day, and to engage in at least one act of kindness every day. All of these rules might seem oppressive or even cultish, but these are common lifestyle adjustments in monastic settings. And as we heard from the reading by St. Benedict of Nursia this morning, monks and nuns do have a rule of life they need to follow in order to have social cohesion, as well as to regulate their lives in such a way as to promote divine living. Having said that, understanding that students have other commitments, Dr. McDaniel encourages the students to find creative ways to complete their work silently and without a computer, and he also offers to communicate with other instructors, employers, or family members who have concerns about any of these requirements, especially the vow of silence. Throughout the semester, students explore a diverse range of texts, including the Old and New Testaments of the Bible, Sufi and Taoist writings, secular poetry, and Buddhist literature. They also engage with different forms of music, from jazz and classical to sacred chanting. Throughout the course, the students maintain a detailed journal and conduct independent research on religious figures, studying monks, nuns, and saints from various traditions. Besides the monk class, Dr. McDaniel also leads a course called Existential Despair, where students gather once a week from 5 o'clock p.m. to midnight in a cozy setting with comfortable couches. After handing over their cell phones, they settle in to read an entire assigned novel in one setting. Works such as James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room and Jose Saramago's Blindness. The evening concludes with an in-depth late-night discussion of the text. Speaking of the purpose of this class and of reading and discussing a book together, Dr. McDaniel said in an interview, quote, "The course is not about hope or overcoming things or even of heroic stories. Many of these books start sad. In the middle, they're sad. They stay sad. I'm not concerned with the students' 20-year-old self. I'm worried about them at my age, dealing with things like breast cancer, their dad dying, their child being an addict, a career that never worked out. So, when they're dealing with the bigger things in life, they know they're not alone. You have to practice making meaning every day. I want the students to start that now, to take the process very seriously," end quote. Believe it or not, both of Dr. McDaniel's courses have long enrollment waiting lists. What do the students themselves say about their experiences in his classes? One student named Neri, who took both the monk class and Existential Despair, and who is an economics major, said that even though the classes had nothing to do with her major, they were the most significant classes she had enrolled in. Before taking those courses, Neri had only heard that the class required students to give up technology and remain silent for a month. She hadn't known the reasoning behind it. What she discovered was a course that pushed students to reconsider the very nature of education, particularly in an era where machine learning often overshadows human learning. Before these courses, she had never thought of education as separate from technology. Quote, "I didn't think learning could happen without it. Now that seems strange to me. You don't need to adopt every new tool to learn more effectively. Sometimes technology creates a dependence rather than an advantage, end quote. Neary also noted that the discipline of silence changed her because silence, quote, takes away the need to respond to everything around you. Little things that would upset me no longer did. It made me feel more human in a way, end quote. Another student, Sophie, a nursing major who took the monk class before graduating, described it as an immersive monastic experience, especially with having to commit to the various disciplines, like waking up at 5 a.m. and journaling all day. She quickly realized that simply coasting through the course for a passing grade missed the point entirely. Instead, true engagement meant embracing every aspect of the challenge. With Dr. McDaniel's permission, she broke her vow of silence only to speak with patients during her clinical rotations at the hospital. Yet, the experience of the course left a lasting impact. She admitted, quote, "I didn't look forward to getting my phone back," end quote. Another student, Christina, whose major is biology and religious studies, had some prior experience with meditation. A self-described hyper person, she struggled to sit still. During the month of silence, she was without her phone or any of the calming app voices telling her to focus on her breath. 2 weeks into the class, she went to Dr. McDaniel's office hours and complained to him, "I can't do it." He simply asked, "Well, how have you been doing it?" Having finished the course, she's now able to find calm by identifying and listening to her own heartbeat. Because she can always access her heartbeat, she can meditate anywhere, without the need for an app on her phone, which brings her comfort. Quote, "You realize so many burdens you put on yourself. I am the one that is making this stressful. There is a lot to do, yes, but I don't have to stress," end quote. And it's not just students who are inspired by Dr. McDaniel's courses. Other professors have been inspired by his teaching style too. Dr. David Peña Guzman is a professor of philosophy at San Francisco State University, and he decided to create a class called Reading Experiment, which is modeled after Dr. McDaniel's Existential Despair course. In Dr. Peña Guzman's course, students meet for 5.5 hours every other week and discuss authors whose books inspire deeper philosophical introspection. Students are told to turn off their cell phones in class and to put them into a plastic bag called the basket of despair. Most of Dr. Peña Guzman's students are working-class, first-generation college students. To foster openness, he shared his own struggles, saying to students, quote, "I'm actually a very slow reader, and it's likely some or most of you will get further in the text than me because I'm ESL, English as a Second Language, and I read quite slowly in English," end quote. His honesty encourages others to discuss their own difficulties with reading and focus. Dr. Peña Guzman rejected the notion that a course like his, where students read long texts about philosophical and humanistic subjects, is only suited for students without financial concerns. Quote, "I'm worried by this assumption that certain experiences that are important for the development of personality, for a certain kind of humanistic and spiritual growth, should be reserved for the elite, especially when we know those experiences are also sources of cultural capital. I can't imagine a professional field that wouldn't require some version of the skill of focused attention," end quote. So, for those of us who don't have the opportunity to enroll in a class like the ones I've mentioned today, what can we learn from those experiences? As Unitarian Universalists, we do not have our own monastic tradition. But there are some timeless lessons and practices that we can put into practice, which can change our mindset and help us to be more spiritually centered. One practice is the practice of presence. By this I mean that just as the students show up and are present in their seminars, and just as the monks in the monasteries show up several times a day to be present in their chapel or temple, we too can practice that sense of presence right here in our Sunday morning assemblies. While we're here, we can be still. We can put away our devices. We can open our minds and hearts to the presence of the great compassion. It's here that every week we can hear, read, and sing a diverse range of texts that promise to open up the depths of human religious practice. Sometimes we even get to discuss and debate those ideas that come from those texts too. What an awesome opportunity. Secondly, we can learn from the monk class and monastic practices in general about the importance of something called single tasking. We're all familiar with multitasking, but single tasking is not as well known. As Dr. McDaniel had once said, quote, "One of my former students said this course is about the art of single tasking. When you eat, you eat. When you walk, you walk. Concentrate on what you are doing right now, without judgment, in a steady, slow, purposeful way," end quote. What's helpful about single tasking is that it allows us to be more mindful and centered in what we're doing, whether it's a spiritual practice or something more mundane. These days, we're more likely to engage in what's called dopamine stacking, where we engage in multiple pleasurable activities all at once, but not really focused on any of them. An example of this would be watching a movie at home, while texting someone on your cell phone, while shopping online, while eating a tasty snack. That's a lot of dopamine. This constant multitasking floods our brains with dopamine, but without fully engaging with anything, we end up feeling less satisfied, more distracted, and unable to focus on any one thing for long. Practicing single tasking can give us more balance. So, in the end, the lesson is very simple. Presence matters. Whether we're in a classroom, a sanctuary, or just walking down the street, being fully present to the moment is a practice that connects us to the holy in every action we take. The monks who rise before dawn, the students who silence their cell phones, and we who gather here every Sunday, each of us is invited to focus on what truly matters. When we take the time to center ourselves in the present, we open ourselves to deeper understanding, more meaningful connections, and a life that is lived well.
say thank you, Reverend Mark, and everyone who made this service available. Matt, our worship associates, Phil, just want to say thank you. It was very meaningful. And with that, I'd like you to join me in saying our childish extinguishing words based on CUC's covenant. We extinguish this childish flame, but not our promise to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. This promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives. Number 16.
As we come to the end of our service today, our closing words are from a Hawaiian prayer. May the earth continue to live. May the heavens above continue to live. May the rains continue to dampen the land. May the wet forests continue to grow. Then the flowers shall bloom, and we people shall live again.